there! So today when I talk about the patch that is about to hit, of course, in the global server of Brown Dust. I'm gonna analyze the 3 new units that are coming out, the old 3 units that are being reworked, and of course, review the banners themselves. So let's start with the new 5-star support unit, Whadya. She is definitely the star of this patch. She's absolutely great, one of the best units in the game, period. To the point actually that she is the most used unit in Korea. She's quite unique as well, in the sense that she doesn't just buff. She buffs and taunts, and that's absolutely huge. But let's go over that skill by skill. She buffs 4 tiles in a line starting from the front, which is quite okay. Her stats are quite good in the sense that she tanks a little more than the average support, and that will come in handy when we talk about her skills. Her first skill buffs attack and crit rate based on your defense, so of course you should be running her with 2 defense runes. The values though are quite average. She doesn't buff much more than the average 5-star support. In fact, she's a bit below average in that sense. But that's absolutely fine because she doesn't just buff, she does way more than that. Her second skill makes you copy the enemy's buffs after being attacked, which can be quite fun and sound cool at first, but you come to understand that it's not really that relevant. Her third skill though is what makes her unique. As she buffs your units, she also gives taunt to herself. And this is why she's so good. Like, if you want to taunt early in the game, you have to sacrifice not attacking in the first turn. For example, if you want to taunt with your Sare so you can be very safe, you have to sacrifice not going first with an attack unit, which can be quite bad. But she enables you to taunt early on, not waste a turn, and buff your attack unit so they can move first turn. Which means even if you started aggressively with an attack unit, you still have a taunt from when the enemy attacks you back. No matter what type of deck you're using, be it aggressive, defensive, full of taunts, or just stall units, she's absolutely great and will always work. Her fourth skill makes her heal every turn based on the number of buffs she has, which kind of synergizes with her second skill that steals buffs from the enemy. But in the end, even though you're running her on double defense runes and she does have quite a decent stat line, she is gonna get one-shot most of the time, so those 2 skills won't really matter in the end. The fact that she dies early on is also quite alright, because her offensive buffs last 24 turns. So you're kinda guaranteed to still have your units buffed by round 2. So really, if she dies early on, that's absolutely fine as she already did her job. So yeah, she's basically the best non-octo unit in the game right now, so I definitely recommend you getting her. Though investing in her early on as your first +9 might not be a great idea, because supports aren't exactly gonna carry your team, they support the team that is supposedly already good. So as a first +9, supports don't really work that well, but that's fine, I'm gonna do it anyway. Now talking about the new 5-star warrior unit, Yuri is her name and she's terrible. As she's not gonna have any relevance in the meta, I'm not really gonna be talking that much about her. She hits in an X shape, which is quite nice, stuns, removes reflective counter, has some extra damage and damage reduction, removes stats enhancements, but that's just really bad. She hits the front, which is usually gonna hit a tank, and trust me, most tanks have debuff immunity, so she's not gonna stun or increase the damage they take. She has no source of additional damage, which means her damage is just pathetic. And really, there are no relevant units with removable counter. Of course there's Hell, but she's not relevant in endgame arena. She's only really crazy right now because the server is new. As time passes, she's just gonna fall really hard. And even if you pull Yuri right now, she's barely better than Atcha, so there's really no point in using her. Now moving on to the new 4-star defender unit, he's called Atcha and he's actually pretty good. He can reach 100% defense as a 4-star, which is absolutely insane. And he also has a burn counter that works really well against Whadya. As he gets hit, he loses defense, so it's not permanent 100% defense, but it's still absolutely relevant. He does have a spot in Arena as an anti-meta unit, and is the meta for Novice Arena, depending on the rotation of course. Expect some combos like John giving him Taunt, as the only unit in Novice Arena that can do fixed damage is Dr. Logic, expect him as a counter pick. But now let's talk about the reworked units. Hygiene is way better right now and finally has a spot in the meta. He also has a burn counter to counter Whadya, and received pretty huge damage buffs. He's still not absolutely relevant in Korea, but he can definitely be used and is an option. On the other hand, the 5-star Elena has way better offensive buffs, though the champ count itself is still kinda irrelevant because of the meta we live in. Even if you champ someone, it's most likely gonna get removed. So those two, Helena and Hijin, are quite decent but are still middle tier units. The 3-star Originate now hits an extra tile, which is absolutely huge, and now she's really good for Novice Arena. Keep in mind Beatrice, which is part of her set effect, also got buffed in Korea, so maybe we can expect the third part of the set effect, Cosm, to also be buffed and have quite a decent set effect for Novice Arena. Now onto the banner reviews, shall we? The first banner has the 2 5-star units, so as you may expect, it's kinda bittersweet. Whadya is so good to the point that I would even say this banner is worth considering just for her, but calling it in general a good banner would be a lie. Yuri just kills it entirely, and coupled with the fact that Whadya isn't a great investment early on, as I mentioned, you might want to skip this banner and later on pick Whadya with mileage instead, though it's still justifiable to pull right now. And also the only relevant 4-star is Atcha, the other two are kinda bad. The second banner is Glacier and I, also really bittersweet. As I is great early on, it would be quite a nice banner to pull, but Glacier there as a second 5-star is kind of a no. And on top of it, the 4 stars are also all middle tier. The third banner are the 2 reworked units, Hijin and Helena. As I already mentioned, they are both middle tier 5 stars, so it's not really that great of a banner. And the 4 stars, all bad. In the end, none of the banners are particularly great. The best one in my opinion is definitely Whadya, but that doesn't mean you should be pulling that. This is a great moment to save or focus on the legendary banner in my opinion. But I will be pulling on the Whadya banner because I really want her, she's gonna be my first +9. As I mentioned in my previous video, if there is a 5-star that you really want and would mileage instead, you might consider the banner even though it's not particularly great. And well, that's it. Thank you.